The following program was brought to you in part by the California State Railroad Museum.
We wanted it to be one of the greatest trains in the nation.
I viewed the Daylight to be sort of a signature for the Southern Pacific.
These scenes represent passenger trains that have traveled over the Southern Pacific's coastline route. They span the years between 1937 and 1971, when Amtrak took over the service. Hello, I'm Michael Gross. Welcome to the Daylight, the most beautiful train in the world. Few railroads match the scenery or equal the quality of service provided on the Daylight. It was truly a unique train with a glorious history. The train's history can be traced back to 1933 when Southern Pacific's president, Angus MacDonald, very confidently called a meeting of his top executives and declared,
"Even though things look bad, the Depression isn't going to last forever."
At that point, MacDonald thrilled his staff with a dream: to build the finest and most beautiful streamlined passenger train ever designed. By 1935, the rough design for this new train had been completed, but the country was still in the grip of an economic depression. Many people were hungry and without jobs. Business and industry had been ravaged by the Depression, and recovery seemed agonizingly slow to manifest itself. Although American railroads were still carrying the majority of intercity passengers and freight, shrunken revenues precluded almost all planned improvements or innovative changes. Yet Southern Pacific's 12th president, Angus MacDonald, envisioned and implemented the construction of a new train which would deservedly be known as the most beautiful train in the world. Innovative planning and design work produced many firsts from the Southern Pacific's talented team. Passenger comfort, safety, and attention to the total ambiance was their objective, all stunningly achieved with the Daylight. For this train, Southern Pacific used nothing but the finest in materials.
Southern Pacific was always very picky about the cars that the manufacturers, Pullman Standard Manufacturing Company and the Budd Company, very picky about the equipment that they made for us, and we had people in their shops back east monitoring the construction of the cars and to make sure that they were nice, smooth sides, no wrinkles in the covering for the sidewalls. We wanted it to be one of the greatest trains in the nation, and it was.
In record time, the Pullman Standard Company provided 2 sets of the 12-car train. The Daylight truly set the standard for railroads which were entering the streamlined era. The motive power was similarly researched. The result was the extraordinary GS 484 steam locomotive that more than matched the beauty of the train in appearance and performance. It's important to note that passengers had been served on the coastline route before the Daylight. There were standard heavyweight trains such as the Shoreline Limited, which began in 1906, the Daylight Limited, which started in 1922, and the Daylight of 1927. Early in January 1937, Southern Pacific decided upon a new approach to advertising with the Daylight. They went on the premise that seeing is believing. Brian Thompson explains.
The trains go into service, but before that, the advertising campaign that took place was awesome. Here for just an hour stop in Oakland, California, we had this ad. Now this came out of the Oakland Tribune. Here comes the new Daylight on exhibition, Oakland, 9 to 10 a.m. in the morning. Well, they spent this whole page telling about the train, and this did not give the people a clue, despite the seats, the illustrations. It didn't give them a clue of exactly what they were going to experience on the train. And this really established a desire and a want to travel. The trains went into service, and the rest of it's history. The schools at that time were also looking for programs and entertainment, and they had a couple, a woman and a man, that would come to schools in their assemblies. In the school I had, the auditorium seated 1,400 people, and they all came into there to see this film. They showed the film of the train, and the woman was actually in the uniform of the stewardesses from the city of San Francisco. Sort of a pearl gray skirt and coat and a little bouncy cap. And she and this representative of the company would sit up at the table and answer questions of it. And when the program was over, they gave each school a roll of prints, non-detailed prints, but outlines of every car on the train, the locomotives, the tenders and all, for use in the mechanical drawing classes, for kids to make their own drawings from it, stripe them the way they wanted. And no matter where they went, they were hit with daylight, daylight, daylight was through the whole thing. It was just an incredible promotion.
In spite of rainy weather in several cities during the exhibitions, a record 153,535 persons filed through the train in the 12 days that it was open to the public.